One of the key points of differentiation throughout the field this season is in the side pods, but Alpine is the outlier. It's gone for this P-shaped inlet here, but it follows this pathway here. The airflow is being ducted behind this piece here, and it's going to follow into the side pod inlet there. So that offers a little bit less latitude. This is why you have this big undercut here to just help channel this airflow towards the floor and not make it go all the way around a side pod. McLaren has kind of forged its own path as well, but in a different sense. So we have what we're calling the overbite here, and this piece here, or I guess we can call that the over wing, this is where the crash structure will be, with not particularly great thickness to it, and that just opens up the inlet size here. So I'll just do a little sketch alongside it. So you have the chassis bulkhead like this, and so you have a little bit where the airflow can drop in around this area here. But that's probably not the most interesting bit about the McLaren, it's along the sides of the chassis. So you can see this bulge here, which connects the floor to the chassis bulkhead. When you're picking up airflow off the suspension members, it allows it to be turned down towards the floor. When the car's when the car's turning, the wheel is going to be pointing inwards. Some of the airflow is going to be washing off of the front wheel towards this. It hits the chassis sidewall and it allows it to be washed down towards the floor, and it essentially keeps it out of the inlet. So it just ensures that the airflow going into that inlet is just as laminar as possible, it's as clean as possible, and so you're not getting turbulence within the car that is making cooling a lot more difficult. We should also talk about the Mercedes because it's followed a very, very similar path to what Red Bull had last year, but it follows this undercut all the way down here. Now there is an inlet here very much along the flanks of the chassis, but there is also a secondary inlet here just hidden away. Effectively divides into two. You've got a higher up inlet that's horizontal, imagine this is side on, and a vertical inlet here along the side of the chassis. And this just basically allows you to get clean airflow from as close to the chassis as you can that's being cleaned up by the suspension elements further forward, and allows you to pick up cleaner airflow higher up that's not been affected too much by the outboard part of the suspension components or the wheel or anything like that. And so when you're thinking about any kind of slightly de-energized air, it's either being directed over the top here or it's being directed around the undercut. So it just creates a nice big undercut for airflow to be channeled around the car, brought to the rear end of the car, provide a pressure differential that makes the diffuser work a little bit harder and mitigate the effects of any drag. So those are the kind of the three main side pod types that we've seen throughout 2025.